Welcome to episode 5 of Navigating Serum. The intent of this video is to understand how the Serum synthesizer works and hopefully make your first dubstep sound from scratch. Today's course overview will be the orientation of Serum, which is a lot of information, but please bear with me. I'll make it as simple as possible. And then we'll go over how to synthesize a sound from start to finish, and then a couple of neat tricks and tips. Oh boy, we have a lot to get into today with the Serum wavetable synthesizer. So this is orientation. I'm not getting into the detail of everything. This is just to understand what each section is, very similar to the orientation video of Ableton itself. So we're going to start top down from big concept to small concept to help digest all of this overwhelming bit of information and machine we are looking at, especially if you're brand new to this. So let's begin. At the very top, we have 4 tabs that we can move between: oscillator, effects, matrix, and global. To start, you're pretty much only going to be used the oscillator and effects page. Don't worry about matrix and global right now. Let's go back to oscillator. And as you can see, this top half of the Serum synthesizer is light gray, and it's broken up into sections. So you have the sub section on the top left, right below it, the noise, this oscillator A section, oscillator B section, and then the filter section. And each section has its own designated knobs to that section. So if you only want to affect oscillator A, you would only turn all of these knobs. Makes sense. So let's just go through and see what they all are. So this is the sub, clear as day. We can swap between different wavetables to get different subs. This is the noise, just adds noise. We can go through and we can pick any noise we want. Okay, and then oscillator A allows us to select a wavetable. So we can go in here and I can just pick a random wavetable, and it will give us a sound. And all of these knobs affect the wavetable, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and reset this because I don't want that. And then oscillator B is the same thing as A. It's just the second version of this so that you can have 2 wavetables playing at the same time if you wish. And then the last thing we'll do is this filter. So let me go ahead and actually make a sound real quick. This will sound very familiar to you. The respace, cool. Now, if we turn the filter on, this is essentially just an EQ. If you remember the fundamentals of the EQ video, this is a low pass, and there's all sorts of filters in here. We can go to like some crazy ones. As you can see, that's that. Now, the bottom half allows you to modulate, quote unquote, just turn knobs automatically for you up here. So the first thing is the envelopes page on the bottom left. There is a concept called attack, decay, sustain, release. There's an acronym, ADSR. And if you know that, you'll know how to synthesize. So attack determines how fast or slow a sound will come in. So if right now it's instantaneous because it's at 0.5 milliseconds. But if I drag this up, it's a very slow attack. And if I want to go put a knob to its default setting, I hold Command and just click that knob, it jumps back. Decay determines at what point the song will start, or the sound will start to decay, and then the release is how much tail end that decay will have. So if I play this, let go, that's that. Cool. Now, LFOs are very similar to envelopes in the fact that you can change the shape of them, but these LFOs are, they stand for low frequency oscillator, and they are essentially, the analogy that I'll give is just like a little blue Smurf that you can give a command to, and it will follow that command on any knob that you throw it on. So this is the volume knob for oscillator A. No volume now. Pressing the key, no volume. If I click and drag LFO1 on there and I play it, it makes a quarter note triangle shape. And we can adjust the speed of this by dragging down the rate knob. That's pretty easy. So yeah, that's what an LFO does. I don't do anything with the velocity here or the note, and all of these knobs down here I really don't mess with. If you're really curious, you can just click the menu here on the top right, go read manual. It'll open up the PDF to Serum, and you just go to pages like 3 through, 3 through 7 is the whole index, and then you can just use that as a reference to answer any question that you have, and you can read it to become a master of your craft if you're crazy, like me. You see this folder? Look what's in this folder. You see how much paper that is? It's the Serum manual. I printed it out on cardstock. And sometimes I sit in bed and I go through this. Be a master of your craft. So that's the front page. Very, very cut and dry. Just remember, before we move on, that each one of these sections is a quadrant, and the knobs within that quadrant only affect the sound coming out of that quadrant. And then you use LFOs to manipulate those knobs automatically, and an envelope just determines how fast, how slow the sound comes in overall, and things like that. The next page is the effects page, and this is very simple. It's just audio effects that you throw in your sound. So before distortion, after distortion, crunches it up. Here's a phaser. Right, I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a lot and there's a lot to talk about them, but this is just the effects page. And then the matrix we'll quickly go over. This is essentially just all of the routing that is going on within the preset that you're working on, like with the instance of Serum that you're working on. So if I go back to dragging LFO1 on the level here and I make it that quarter note womp, go to matrix, it recorded it here, right? This is like the history of all the routing. So it's telling me LFO1 is pushing oscillator A's volume 100% in the upward direction, which it is. And we can also do this through the matrix. So if I remove that and I go to matrix and I click and drag LFO1 onto this source lane, this first box, the destination to oscillator A volume, it automatically has it go in both directions. You see how this arrow is going left and right? If you click that, it goes in one direction, and I want to put it to 100% volume. And as you can see, it mapped it here, right? We can do this through the matrix page. And that's pretty much it. The last thing that I'll leave you with is presets. So on the very top here, if we open up this drop-down box, these are, I believe, are all the stock Serum presets that you can play with. So we can just pick one of these and play. And if I click this arrow to the right of the title of the preset, it just goes to the next preset of the folder that we're in, as you can see. And presets are just pre-made sounds that you can use in your own music and screw around with. And you can also buy them from like DJs. Like these are Madcore presets. So you get the idea. If you ever do make something and you want to save it, you just click this save button next to the name, and then it'll just have you save it in a folder to wherever your folder presets is and stuff like that. And then I guess, yeah, that's pretty much it. The last thing I'll leave you with, I know I keep saying that, is this menu option allows you to bring up that manual again if you want to just read manual. Boom, there it is. And there's also other information within this menu option. You can load presets in here, and then you can do a bunch of other parameters, which we'll get into later. But yes, this is the orientation. This is the oscillator page, effects, matrix, global. And yeah, I hope that was easy and made sense. Okay, now we're going to synthesize a sound. I just would recommend that you just watch me do this rather than trying to follow along at the same time with your own instance of Serum. That way you can just see the workflow and how sound starts from just this to a final product. So let's get into it. The way that this works is that all of the sounds on this front page, this is the starting point of it. So the subsection, the noise, oscillator A and oscillator B, are all oscillators. They all make noise. This is where they all start. Its next destination, its next little pit stop is the filter, if you choose to use it, all right? Then after the filter, it goes through the effects page, and it will go through any one of these effects that you turn on. And then that's its final destination. After that, you put it down here into Ableton, where you can choose to post-process it further with any one of these effects, right? But we're not doing that today. We're just going to start with Serum. So to reset everything, I'm just going to click Menu, Initialize Preset. Boom, it's right back to normal. And today we're actually making a respace. If you don't know what this is, these are some examples of them. That's not a bad one. So these are used as like intro elements and sometimes fills and stuff when they're really short, and they're really easy to make. So the initial waveform is a triangle wave. I believe this is a triangle. And we're going to increase the unison 7 to make 7 voices of it. And if I play, it's already there. It's pretty much made. Now we're just going to fine tune it. I'm going to boost the level to make it a little louder. And the next thing I'm going to do is throw on a filter. And I'm just going to trim off some of the highs. I'm going to go to this MG low 24. Okay, and I want this to move a little bit, so I'm actually going to go over to LFO2 because me personally, I reserve LFO1 strictly for level changes, like if I wanted to adjust the volume here on this level. But I'm not doing that right now, so I'm just going to leave that and go back to LFO2. And I'm going to drag LFO2 onto this cutoff. And you see how there's like a little blue circle here? If I click and hold that and I drag up and down, I can change which direction LFO2's shape will go. And I want it to go in the upward direction just a little bit, so I'm going to go like that. And I'm going to make it a little bit slower by a half bar, and I'm just going to drag this down to make it super subtle. You see it's moving a little bit? Cool. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go to LFO3, and I'm going to change the pitch here. And I'm just going to drag LFO3 onto this parameter here, which changes the coarse pitch. And when I drag it on initially, it goes in both directions. Watch. You see how it's like flying back and forth left and right? I don't want that. So if I hold Shift Option and I click on that parameter that we just set, that LFO, it now goes in one direction. So it starts off as bipolar, and then when you do Shift Option and click it, it goes to unipolar. And I'm just adjusting how much it changes. And I'm going to go ahead and change this rate knob to like 2 bars, and I'll just do a shape like this. Pretty ominous, pretty spooky. Okay, but it's flat. Let's make it bigger with some effects. The next thing I'm going to do is add distortion, and I'm just going to boost the drive and crunch it. And if I don't like that, I can just click this drop-down box here and pick a different distortion. But I'm going to click this arrow to cycle through them just so you can see different examples. I like diode too. And I'm going to very quickly explain to you a technique called break and back off. So the way that I do this is I push the drive knob until I break the sound, and then I back off until I hit a sweet spot that I like. So like 36% probably, and I do the same thing with the mix knob. I feel like 50% mix, cool. And then the last thing I'll probably add is a compressor. If you click this icon, multiband, it just turns it into OTT, which is essentially this. A regular compressor doesn't make things as shiny, so I just turn that on if we play. We lost a bunch of subs, so what I'm going to do is actually do full gain and full threshold, and as I play, bring back the threshold until I hit a volume I like. Hey, you know what? Screw compressor, we don't want that. Where did all my sub go? What just happened? Oh, sorry, pardon me. I turned this on my post-processing chain. I'm going to turn that off. All right, now we're back to the original sound. Let's try this compressor now. There we go. Cool, and I guess if we wanted some like resonance and stuff, we can turn on the phaser. Now we have a respace, very simple. Now what I'm going to do, say that I'm done with this, I'm just going to drag this up to the top left. As you can see, I have an audio track down here, and there's multiple ways that I can turn this into audio. So if I actually, on the MIDI track, make a box like we went over on the keys video, staying in key. I got to find the key. Where is it at? Right here. Double click, make a note, expand it for a bar. I'm going to collapse this. I click on that MIDI track, I do Command D to duplicate it, and then I right click, freeze and flatten, and boom, now it's audio. So that's one way to do it. Or straight out of Serum, if we go back, let me show you this. There's a little Easter egg. This is an empty audio track right here, and if I don't want to have to duplicate the freeze flat and resample all of that, on Serum on the very top left of this S, if you hover over it, it kind of shows up. It's like a little hidden Easter egg. It says drag and export. If I click and drag that icon down to this empty audio track, it bounces it to audio. Now, if I double click on this audio file, right now the BPM says 112. That's wrong. We're at 140 beats per minute up here. So to fix that, we just double click warp and it's right back to its original shape. And that's our respace. And this is how you synthesize a sound. And I'm just going to do a very quick recap. Again, the way that this works is sound, its starting point comes from either the sub, the noise, oscillate A, or B. It will get routed through the filter if you turn it on, and it will go through whatever filter you choose to have it go through. And then it will go through an effects page, and it will go through any of these effects that you decide to turn on. And you can modulate any one of these knobs or parameters with an LFO. These are things that you will pick up over time when you get practice. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Now we're going to go ahead and learn some fancy stuff about Serum, just little tips and tricks that might help you move forward with your workflow. So we're back at our respace here. And let's say we really enjoy this, we want to save it. At the very top here, there's this floppy disk icon, which is so funny to me that we still use floppy disk for the save button. And then you can just name it, whatever. And then you can put it in your user folder here or click new folder to put it in a specific destination. And that's how you can save your own sounds and create your own library of sounds. I do recommend starting off as an entry-level music producer or just in synthesis in general to create a new folder and label it whatever year you started producing or maybe the month. And that way, every new month or every new year, you should create a new folder so that you can see the chronological progression of your sound design. And also it just allows you to filter through a lot of the junk crap that you made in the beginning, because your first sounds are going to suck. And like 4 years from now, you don't want to be filtering through 100 presets that you saved your first week of synthesizing, because you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is all just trash. But that's just a recommendation. Let's go into a couple more parameters. So I didn't go over this. I wanted to save this for the fancy part of this video. So all 4 of these knobs are called macros. And this is essentially your God hand is what I would call it. This knob will only change another knob if you tell it to. So let's use this phaser, for example, right? My mix is at 75% right now. If I drag this macro knob onto the mix, and then I make sure that it's going up to the full level, when I drag this macro, it's going to move this knob up to 100%. So listen. That's a bad example. Let me do something that's a little bit more dramatic. Okay, let's do the gain knob here on the compressor. And I'm just gonna tell it to turn all the way down when I turn this knob all the way up. So that's what a macro does. And the reason that we want that is because sometimes when we're making sounds, we want to adjust specific parameters at random to get different variations. So actually, I could use this phaser, for example. Let me find a tonality out of here. Okay, so I know when I adjust this frequency knob, I get different changes. So let me put this macro on the frequency, and I'll have it go bipolar somewhere around this range. Pay attention, I'm moving the macro and it's changing the frequency here. And if I leave the macro at this point, it will stay at that frequency. So that is why we have macros. I'm going to put that back on real quick, actually. Okay, there's another thing that we can do is if we go down to the bottom left part of Ableton here and we click configure on this Serum patch, now any knob I click within Serum, it is going to map it down here in this gray area. So I'm just going to click the macro knob, and right here, boom, it says macro 1 right here. And if I want to relabel this, I could call this phaser freak. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. I know it's booming. Metro boom. Let me go ahead and see if I can configure this again. Okay, so it won't rename it down here, but it does have its name there. Now, if I go back to Ableton and I right-click this parameter we just set, and I click Show Automation, it opens up the automation lane. I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but I just want to show you this. If I click a dot here at the beginning, it says 0%. If I click one here at the end, and then I drag it up to 100%, it's going to move this macro that we mapped from 0 to 100%, right? I just disabled the automation. I have to right click it, re-enable automation. So listen. And that's another reason why we have macros, so that we can come in and just draw automations for different shapes and stuff. Yep, so that's some fancy stuff. Don't forget about the resampling technique. There's a little Easter egg here. Just click and drag that onto an empty audio track, and it will export the audio file straight out of here. What else did I want to do? Oh yeah, any knob that I change, I believe I said this in the beginning, but say I change this knob and I don't like it, I want to go back to default. If I hold Command and I click it, it'll just jump back to its default setting. Let's go over the global real quick. There's a couple of things in here that you can know about. The width here changes your stereo width. So default's 100. You're going to get basic stereo width out of it. If I were to drag it all the way down, we get 0 width, as you can see. And if I hold Command and click, it should go back to normal. It doesn't. You have to type it back in because that's silly. And then you have some chaos knobs here, which are just randomization knobs if you're trying to do glitches and stuff. And this is kind of annoying to set up, but I'll just show you. So unfortunately, we have to go back to Matrix. And I know this looks weird, but follow along. So I'm going to go to an empty lane. I'm going to go to the source. And I want the source to be chaos 1 knob. And then I want the destination to be the effects page and that filter frequency, the phaser frequency that we were manipulating earlier. And then I want to drag this all the way up to tell the chaos knob I want you to control 100% of the phaser frequency at random. As you see, it's randomly moving. And we can adjust the speed of the chaos, I believe, by changing the rate knob over here. So yeah, that's that. That's why we have the global page, I guess, so we can do little things like that. What else is there? Oh yeah. Last tip and trick of this video and lesson. This will really help you learn sound design if you have patience. So what you're going to do is open up a brand new instance of Serum, and this is going to be your version. And then what you're going to do is get another instance of Serum, a second one, and put it side by side, like so. And then for the second one, you're actually going to just choose a preset. Let me go to like Madcore, his murder lead. And let me listen to this real quick. I want to see what this sounds like. Bring it back. Okay, say I really like that sound. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click LFO 1. And I'm just going to, before I even do that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to reverse engineer everything that I know that I can. So I see he has the sub on. I'm going to turn the sub on. It's at -2. I'll bring it down -2. Oscillator B's, he's on basic shapes. Go to basic shapes. Go to whatever shape that is. Okay, his octave is at +2. You get the idea. We're just literally copying exactly what we see into this one and trying to pay attention as to why he's doing this. And you're playing your sound as you follow this pictogram, really, that you're copying off of, so that you can see how the sound is coming to life. To see where the LFOs are mapped, he actually doesn't have any of these LFO mapped, I don't think. I don't know what LFOs he's got mapped. Oh, so he's using the envelope to map these settings. So as you can see, if I click on envelope, all of these highlighted blue. So I know envelope 1 is definitely going to the sub level, oscillator A level, and oscillator B level. If I were to click LFO 1, and if he did have this mapped to anything, those LFOs on the knobs would be highlighted blue so that you can see where his mapping is and all of that. And this is just a really good way to learn synthesis and how to build your own presets, because you're reverse engineering some expert's preset and trying to figure out his own methods. So yeah, that is navigating Serum and all of the tips and tricks. I totally forgot about this part, and it's important. This is how we install Serum presets and wavetables and skins and things like that. Splice will do it automatically for you. It creates its own folder and routes it. But if you download and buy anything offline, or you're gifted by a friend, you need to install it yourself manually. This is how you do it. On Mac, you go to your Finder, click the Go option, and go to Computer. It's going to bring you this page. You click on your hard drive, Macintosh HD, then Library, then Audio, and then Presets. X for Records, Serum Presets, and then boom, this is where you want to be. We're actually going to go back one page to just this Serum Presets folder. click and drag that into your sidebar. I already did. And the reason that you do that is so that when I click on the Serum presets folder on my sidebar, it opens to this page. So that way I can quickly get to this in case I download anything and just drag it into its respective folder. Now, where are the correct folders? So if you download presets from online, you go to the presets folder, obviously, and look at all these folders, read them, bass, hard, FX, leads, misc. If I go and I open up Serum and I click this part, all of these folders are all of these folders. And if I make a new folder called my presets, and then I make a new MIDI track in Serum so that it will recognize it, it should come up. It definitely will come up, I promise you. And here we go. My presets right there. And there's nothing in it because I just made that folder. So you can choose to put your folders on that front page if you wish. I, however, made a folder called third party, and within that is everything that I've just downloaded online or have been gifted to just keep them all in one space. Now, let me open up this. This is what the Serum presets files look like. The file type is .fxp. So if you get a .fxp file, you know it's a Serum preset and it needs to go into this presets folder within your own designated folder if you wish. Let me go back a page. If you download wavetables, they obviously go in the table section, and you can make your own folders for your own wavetables if you wish. Let me go ahead and open this up. These wavetable files are .wave because Serum is a wavetable synthesizer. It's an audio file that it is playing at different frame rates to get different variations. So that's that. Let me go back. And then I'll go over the noises section. So the noises folder is on the front page of Serum, which we went over during the orientation. If I bring this back, this little guy, it does say noise, but really it's a sampler. And if you wanted, you could drag a half-hour long mix into any one of these noises folder and load it up through here, and it will play out of this oscillator. So that's what that does. My recommendation for this is like if you find really nice like white noises and hisses and textures, put it in your own little custom folder here so that you can start layering that with like your sub and sounds and stuff. The last thing I'll go over is skins. When we went over like the boot camp of how to change the themes of Ableton, you can do that for Serum as well. You just Google Serum skins and you can download them for free. Like I already have a couple in here. If I open up Serum, where is it? Keep exiting out. Here it is. To change your skin, you right click the Serum title up here. You go to the skin option, Hotline Miami. Makes it all Hotline Miami colors. If we change it to the other one, Prometheum, you can really start to change it up. And I believe that you can even make your own custom skins with like Photoshop and stuff, but I'm not doing all that. I usually just keep it on default. I think this time I'm actually going to go to Hotline Miami. I'm going to keep it at Hotline Miami. So yeah, that is another good tips and tricks. Just to remember, once you get to this folder, just go back one, click and drag that Serum presets folder on your sidebar. So every time you click on it, you're right there where you can just batch drop everything that you get. Fantastic. Lesson 5 out of the way for the schoolhouse. Today we went over Serum, a very quick orientation video discussing all of the 4 pages, the oscillator page, effects, matrix, global, and how each page has its own little sector of knobs, and those knobs control that sector of sound. And then you know the roadmap that we kind of learned through synthesizing, the roadmap of sound, that being it starts in an oscillator, it goes through the filter if you tell it to, and then it goes through an effects page if you tell it to, and you can modulate a bunch of different parameters with LFO shapes at different rates and things like that. Hopefully you made it to the very last part of the tips and tricks where I showed you how to install presets and wavetables and skins. That's a very nice tip. And saving that presets folder to your sidebar will save you so much time than to just keep clicking through folders. That way it's saved, so when you download something, you can instantly install it. The next video, we're getting into sub synthesis, so we'll be making our own signature sub out of Serum and probably getting some ones from audio as well. And this is huge because once we get that, we can really start to build complexity on top of that sub and really start to make bass music.